Hi everybody, this is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. Today we are talking about closing out customers in the Illinois WorkNet system. And I have test up on my screen right now, and we are going to go through the process here. One of the things that you need to do, you can only really close out people that have been enrolled. So if you've got some customers here, remember that you need to search by what program you're using. And I'm going to use my DHS Youth category because that's where I've got the most test customers right now. So on here, I'm going to filter by DHS Youth. And we have 15 customers that were enrolled. And a number of these have been closed. So I'm going to look at Karen Jensen here, who is still open. I'm going to go to her profile. Now, one of the things that you need to make sure of is to be able to qualify for program status, for all of the things that you're verifying that the progress is all up to date and current. You need to go through each customer to make sure that everything has been done that they needed to have done. So this customer was enrolled. They have 0 subsidized employment. This is coming out. We're working on some updates right now. Performance measure deliverables. So if you've got a whole bunch of red items here, but you actually worked with this customer, you need to make sure that all of these pieces have been approved and updated, and that they'll count in your performance, because guess what? If your performance doesn't match what you said you were going to do, you may not get your money. I don't know what DHS thinks about this, but a lot of other people don't pay you if you don't perform appropriately. So on here, you need to make sure that if you were supposed to have given that person nocatee, they got nocatee. If they were supposed to have done Employment 101, it's done. And all of these things are showing green. So if there's any of these pieces that you need to know how to do to get that done, we do have all of the videos and the directions on the DHS partner page. If you're stuck, if you're totally stuck, send me an email and we'll try to help you get through it. Now, they don't have to be closed out the day they actually end. They can be closed out, like say it's early January and you're closing people out still, then you can do that then. As far as employment on career plans, you can find out if somebody was actually placed by looking at their worksite placement. And if they have a current position, so for example, Karen Jensen here is working at EE from 2018 till the present. Is that right? Is that correct? If not, you need to go in and close out the job. Were they receiving subsidized wages that whole time? If not, you need to go in and check that and make sure that that is working. I'll put it, Corzon's asking for my email. I'll put it in the chat.
Dee, while you're doing that, would you mind explaining again, when you say closed out for the year, this is not someone who's exited the program, is it?
Well, it needs to be done for people that exited, as well as if you're at the end of your program. So YEEP, SCYEP are both ending on December 31st.
Okay.
Yes, you need to close these people out. If you make sure that all of these things are in line, and maybe say you were working with somebody and they've left you totally, what did you do for them? Is there any of this performance that needs to be updated so that you can get credit for those particular pieces?
Okay, thank you.
All right. So on here, you just need to look at the work sites, or you can go into their career plan and look at their, this progress page right here. Oh, this poor customer doesn't have anything in their career plan, which means that on that progress page, you're going to have a big red circle for the career plan. You can, however, go in and update this. That's one of the reasons why we always want you to track and do as you're going rather than trying to have to catch up. If you're trying to have to catch up, you've got 30 people's files and you're like, oh, this is a nightmare. Well, if you keep up as you're going, then it makes it a whole lot easier when you're ready to close out to make sure that your performance is matching. Okay, when you close out a customer on the progress page, you can go back and update the career plan and those kind of things after the fact when you close them out, but you do need to make sure that in the discharge case closure, you are selecting a discharged case closed and the reason. If it is because they are employed and no longer need services, you can no longer provide them with supportive services. If you, Brandon, at one point in time, you were able to provide supportive services up to 270 days after the date of employment, but you could close them out earlier than that. You could exit them. So, is Brandon on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So Brandon, is that still the case? Can they still discharge the youth and still provide supportive services to them?
With IYIP, I don't know. That'll be part of that follow-up. And
okay,
I haven't been given the final guidelines on that yet. So
okay.
And then for anything that's not IYIP, yes.
Anything other than IYIP. Okay. So you can still provide supportive services. You just have to track and document once you have discharged them. But if they're working full-time, you want to wean them off of any support that you might be providing to them if they can afford to do that on their own. All right, and then we have a follow-up spot here. My suggestion to you, and this is just a way to kind of get the information that you need, if they are working full-time and you ask them for a pay stub and you're giving them a bus pass, make sure that they give you the pay stub before you give them the bus pass. And then add a follow-up note here that you are, what you're doing and when you're talking to these people. In the career plan, in the actual career plan for the customer, if you add a step or goal for employment, and if you add that employment, I don't have a goal in here. It's going to want, and I don't have any employers in here. All right, let me get a goal added. All right, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to work on my step now. And I've got some jobs listed in here. These are positions that I've already added into the system. I'm going to add this position. They were on subsidized wage, but they're not right now. So say they started this job, let's say they started it on July 24th, 2019. They haven't finished. Their minimum wage for placement was 15. Their hourly wage for placement was 15. The subsidized wage came and went. You gave them their 90 days. And so now what we need to do is their subsidized wage was $7/24/2019. Their end date for the subsidized wage would be October, if it was a 90-day kind of thing. So let's say it was the 23rd. We wouldn't put a subsidized wage in here because that's follow-up, and they wouldn't have it if it's done. They were working part-time. They started, how many hours a week? They're working 30 hours a week. I'm going to update this customer service. And then once I have that saved, in here, we have a 30, 60, 90, 180, and 270-day follow-up for the employment. Just to make sure that they're still working there if they are, and if they're not, then you can enter an end date in here. So when you do the 30-day follow-up, that's easy peasy. 30, and then again, you have to do this every 30 days, then 180, and lastly 270. Those days are required if they're still working. If they go back to school, you don't need to do these updates. You only need to do the one follow-up to make sure that their program is complete. All right, so these follow-up days are different than the follow-up days on the progress page. Everybody get that? Yeah? Okay. So now if you find out that you did the 60, you did the 90, you got the documentation for that, meaning stubs. You did the self-evaluations, the different things that you needed to do. Then you just need to make sure that those things are reflected in the online profile. Now, maybe you find out on the 180-day follow-up that that person stopped working there, like at Christmas time. So then instead of doing this 180-day follow-up, you would come back in here and backdate the end date to December 31st or whenever you found out that they actually lost the job. And then you would put a status here of terminated. At that point in time, they're probably done with your program. They've probably not kept in touch with you. Brandon, do you guys require them to do employment verification forms?
Just for follow-up?
No, for like within that 90-day time period. Say they lose touch. Do you have them mail or email an employment verification form to the employer that they were working for to make sure that they're still there?
No, I don't know that we have any type of form. They're just supposed to follow up with the employer to verify. I mean, it can be done, over the phone or email.
Okay. Some programs actually have formal employment verification forms. I know SNAP does, and there could be other things that are available. But anyway, you might need to have documentation if we decide to collect that for IYIP. Okay. So now we do have a career plan started. So if we go back to this customer's progress page, we would then see that we have a green here. Molly, I'm going to mute you. If I can find you. All right. So now you can see that we have has an individualized case plan. And did they have one that included college? Were they an out-of-school youth that was re-engaged? And then we have some improved educational outcomes. We're going to also be adding a column here for improved life skills achievements. So we will be updating this to make nocatee an optional piece, as well as adding the Casey life skills as a required piece. All right, so now, who has questions about how to actually close someone out? And I've only got 66 of 80 attendees that have actually checked in for attendance.
So actually I had someone leave the program and I immediately closed them out. However, I do not think I documented all that we've done for that customer.
You can go back and add things.
Okay.
And as you go back and add things, then they'll show up with the green checks if you did it appropriately.
Okay, so their name doesn't show up on my dashboard when I go to my customers and I type and I select Eve, that name, yeah, like this screen, she doesn't no longer show there.
It could be because you're looking in the wrong category here. So remember, you have to click once you have them enrolled.
So I have to re-enroll her and update it and then
No, if she was enrolled in if she was enrolled in the original CYEP, then it's now DHS Youth. If she was enrolled in YEEP, you have to click this YEEP filter to get those people to show up.
And
Makia, do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's in YEEP category long-term.
Right, I know that, but that's where all of our candidates are and she's not showing. It's fine, we'll figure it out.
All right, and oh yeah, okay, so Melissa's saying you can check the advanced filters down here too. I forgot about that. I try not to use the advanced filters if I don't have to. but what happens is if they're enrolled or if they're closed, you can use some of these advanced filters to find them. The other challenge may be is if that participant ended up moving to a different organization, you won't see them. And in that case, so like if you closed them out and they ended up going to Aunt Martha's, then you won't see them. You follow that? Camilla does. All right, so you just have to make sure that you're using this filter at the top to try to find your youth. And then if you need to use some of these other filters down here, you can open or closed, do that as well. All right, got another question here. I also closed customers and tried to update, but I get an error message. So Toby, the same thing might happen is you might just have to look by filter because depending on when you enrolled them and what program they enrolled in, if you get a specific error message other than just error, there's a key that you can do that it's F12 on your keyboard. And so if I'm clicking on this screen and I do F12, it shows me what the problem is. Take a screenshot of that and send that to me, along with the customer name and their registered email address. All right, so let me put that in here. Be on the tab and click F12. Take a screenshot, send me name, registration, email address, and all right, and that's it. Okay. Okay, so trying to send workplace evaluations from Illinois. Melissa, we had a problem with that for a little while. I'm not sure that I can replicate that in test. We may have to get on one-on-one to go live when I'm not recording. We could maybe do it afterwards when I stop recording and check that out, but I can't do it because I have to be on a real person to be able to do that. So on here under the assessments, what they're talking about is to send a worksite evaluation to a customer. We have a new evaluation and we need to search for an employer. Enter the customer's job title, worksite date, worksite end date. I can send it on behalf of the person, or else I can fill it out on behalf of the person. So in that situation, you may want to just send them the PDF form that is in the partner page, and then just fill this out on their behalf for them. Does that maybe answer what you're trying to do, Melissa and Melissa? Melissa?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, sending over the PDF and then filling it out on their behalf. But I just wanted to.
All right. I need to figure out what the challenge is here. But like I said, I can't do it in test. I have to be live to check that one out. Okay.
Thank you.
And then we would pick initial or final, and then we're going to just do initial and skip the step 3 and submit the evaluation. So that's how you would get to this, to do that for the customer or for the person on their own, get the paper version and then do this. But I do want to check that. So let's finish the recording. All right, what else do we have questions about closing? The biggest piece is to make sure that if they needed to have the nocatee, that you have that score entered. If they didn't take it, you're going to have a red mark on that. If they were supposed to do Employment 101, it syncs with the system. So if they did Employment 101, if they did nocatee, you'll see it in here and it will sync. If it's a sync issue, we can fix that. If they just didn't do it, there's no helping you. On the evaluations, if you happen to have the paper copy, you are able to add and edit an evaluation for the person. For Casey Life Skills, if you need to enter those are new for IYIP, so we don't have to worry about that right now for our existing customers for YEEP or SYEP. All right, so closing them out, you want to make sure that their career plan is complete, that their assessment pieces are complete, and then down here we go to discharge case closure. I'm not sure when they will pull data. Most of the time it's like a 90-day window, but I'm not quite sure. And I don't think Mike is on the call to answer that. Nicole or Brandon, do you know anything about YEEP?
No, sorry, I do not. That's it's a brand new program.
Okay.
But I would assume they wouldn't be pulling data for at least probably a month after it closes.
I would think so as well. So you've got time to catch up. And if you're having issues trying to catch up, please send me an email. I'll try and help you figure out an easier way or a process or system to do that. Sam asked, can we use Casey assessment in place of nocatee? Are you, Sam, are you talking for IYIP? So that is the preference. Right now, we can't pull it into the performance measure, but I do have a programmer that is going to be working, and hopefully by December 31st. So our workshop or our TA call on the 5th, I hope to be able to demo all of that, if not the 29th. And what I kind of need to know too, there is a way for you to raise your hand on the screen. Let me make my screen bigger here so that I can see more people. I'm going to move this and I'm going to minimize that. Under the people piece, there is a spot where you can raise your hand under the participants. Are you going to be working between Christmas and New Year? Otherwise, I'm going to cancel that webinar if there's going to be only just a couple of people. So if you're working between Christmas and New Year, let me know. We got 6. I think people are still finding. Okay. All right, so I think what I may do on the 29th, I may just have the TA session and have it open for random questions. We won't record it, and then we'll save all of our new updates and stuff for the 5th.
Dee?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, and it's not so much just the closeout, but I know that there's been the training offered, training offered for the KC life skills. And for those of us who are only under category 1, would there be another training offered regarding KC life skills, or will we just go back and, was it recorded, I guess, to use that one?
No, it's not recorded. That is provided by ICOI. Brandon, do you know if they're going to offer again, like March or April?
Yes, they are offering it. I believe the next one is in January.
Okay. Okay, I'll look on the site and see. Thank you.
Well,
yeah, it will definitely be posted on their site. And I know there's another training already scheduled, and I'm almost certain it's January. I just can't say the dates. It's a 2-day training. You have to attend both days.
A couple people actually posted that there's one coming up in January.
Okay, thanks.
Kristen.
It sounded like Brandon was going to say where you could register and got cut off.
It's ikoi.org. Melissa Beach from Aunt Martha's just posted it in there. Brandon, is there an email that you could forward out to people?
For ICOI?
For the registration for that workshop. Is it limited in size?
Yes, it is. The only way I know is to register through their workshop, through their website. I'm not sure if they email that out to their groups or not. I believe they do, but I don't know how often, because they do like upcoming events and trainings.
All right, well, ikoi.org is not right.
Thank God for checking that.
It's
ICOI
Youth.
I was going to check. I apologize. When I'm in a Zoom meeting, it's really hard for me to do anything else. Like, I was just trying to return an email, and it was barely. Like, Zoom takes everything that my computer has, I think. So I can't really check right now.
Let me, because Fanalee just put in here in the chat. So this is their upcoming events. And we have, oh, here, Casey Life Skills Training, January 11th and 12th. It looks like it's 2 hours per day. So it's not an all day thing.
No, but you do have to attend both days. And it is almost always on Mondays and Tuesdays.
All right. And it's not telling me that it's full. So if I register here, yeah, it's not telling me that it's full yet. So, and look in the chat pod because Fanalee put the link in there that I got to.
Okay, so I feel like I missed this part, so excuse me if this is repetitive. So it was my understanding that Casey Life Skills was going to replace the nocatee training. I do believe nocatee was written in our grant. So if we have our customers do this instead, is that okay? Or because, yeah.
They should be doing, I believe for the new IYIP, Casey Life Skills is replacing nocatee. Brandon,
Yeah.
correct me?
The only assessment, and if you even want to call it really an assessment, I wouldn't compare Casey Life Skills to nocatee, but nocatee is an assessment. But the only thing that's required is the Casey Life Skills, other than the Employment 101 and all that, that you do. But actual assessment, I guess if you want to call it an assessment, it's just the Casey Life Skills. We haven't required the nocatee since, before July 1st.
Yeah.
For CYEP, which was, so you don't have to do the nocatee for IYIP or the CSYEP.
Okay.
And, all right. And we will be updating the progress page. I hope to have that. I want it done by the 31st so that we have all of this stuff squared away. The session on the 29th, we will not make it mandatory. I will take attendance, but it will not be mandatory because many of you might not even be in the office that day.
I'll be off work.
Yeah. So Brandon won't be there to check on you. All right. Okay, what other questions do you have? I believe, Shonda, I believe YEEP does have to complete the nocatee.
Double check with Mike.
We'll have to check with Mike though. Send Mike an email, please. Copy me on it. And I think that it is Mike Sandidge at illinois.gov. Is that right, Brandon?
Yes.
So send him an email, ask, verify. I thought it was a requirement.
Just in case, just to cover my own self, where do I find the nocatee registration for that assessment?
The nocatee registration on your partner tools, if you go to, I have to get live here. Oh.
Oh, damn, I missed it.
Question for Brandon. Were you able to get verification of whether Category 1 programs need to do the follow-up every 30 days for 270 days? Is
No,
that what we're trying to find from Carrie?
Yes.
All right.
Well, for all categories, though. The way I understand it, it's going to be the same for all 4 categories, the follow-up. But I just don't know if it's going to be 30 days or if that's going to change. The last thing I heard from her, it would be 30 days, but that's subject to change. So I don't want to tell everyone until I know for sure.
All right. And then,
may I ask Brandon another question, please? I put it in the chat, but I know we have a lot of chatter in the chat. Brandon, the I-9 employment form, is that required for categories 2 and 3 if there's no subsidized wages coming from the?
It's required, period.
Yes, it's required for every participant.
For every.
Except Brandon, the I-9 is by the employer of record.
Right, which we are not.
Right. So they would still have to fill one out, but for whoever has hired them.
Okay, thank you. So
they're still going to have
as
to have
a category 2.
They're still going to have a driver's license or a passport or a something. So if in the process of you helping them means getting them a state ID, helping them find their I-9 documentation, then you might want to do that. But you wouldn't have to fill it out if you're not subsidizing their wage.
Okay, and we wouldn't have to have them fill it out for us. In other words, we're helping them get all their documentation, but the actual form, we don't need to have provided for them, correct?
No.
So Camilla is saying the I-9 is part of the eligibility requirements, eligibility
Yes.
for your grant.
I think that's only if you subsidize the wages. Is that right, Brenda?
It's part of the participation packet when you want to join the program. Right. When you go through Illinois WorkNet, it's a whole page that says eligibility documentation, and I-9 is one of the forms that's listed at the top of the page. You have to have a copy of that page 1 in the permanent file.
Correct. It's part of the participant file, and it's in the NOFO too, in the contract.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, it's like proof of Illinois residency, and it's right below that completed I-9 form.
Oh, okay, all right.
In the participant file section, which I always want to refer to page numbers, but I know the page numbers of my printed out NOFO might not be the same page numbers as others because it matters if it was PDF or what form you printed it off.
But we're not asking for an I-9 in Illinois WorkNet, should we be? Because all it says here is, are you authorized to work in the US?
When they do their initial application, and especially when you go into partner tools for your program, all the eligibility documentation is listed as one of the things that you have to have. So as we recruit youth for our orientation programs, we let them know that these are documents that you will need, and it's best to bring them to orientation if you can, so we can get all those documents filled out initially.
And we do have it as part of our enrollment packet. And actually, in order to be entered into the payroll system with our CPA and taxes and everything, they can't do it without the I-9 completed.
Right, right.
I think the person that's asking the question is confused on the I-9 and W-4 forms. I think that's what, I don't think W-4 forms are required if you're not the employee of record, but the I-9 is.
Yeah, but even if they subsidized or unsubsidized, just to be enrolled to complete that eligibility, the I-9 is required.
Yeah.
Even if they never have a work experience.
Okay, no, I do understand. I just know with the I-9, that's typically a form that the employer, the person who is hiring, would complete, and the employee. And we are not, we're not providing any wages. So that's why I was just asking for clarity.
The employee, the youth signs page 1. The I-9 is a 2-page document. The second page is what the employer of record fills out and completes the certificate at the bottom.
Correct. So are we saying then that that I-9 form would go to the employer once the youth is placed?
Before he's employed.
The page 1 need to be filled out before he employed, before he enrolled in the dashboard.
Correct.
He just looks at the page 1. Now page 2 goes to whether it's being subsidized or whether the placement is taking that person on as a permanent employee. Then that person fills out the page 2.
So I just want to make sure I have clarity, and Brandon, maybe you can speak to this. So when a youth is placed, we should send that I-9 form to the employer, or will the employer have the youth complete an I-9 form there?
I would think normally the youth would complete it with the employer.
Okay, so I was just trying to get clarity, because we have been having them fill these forms out, but I just wasn't sure why, because we're not the employer, we're not paying them. And so they will have to fill out another form just like it once they're employed, correct?
Yes, they'll all have to fill one out.
And could I just ask a question, like you said, just for our clarity on this end? When you reference, you said we're not paying them, the employer is paying them. So in other words, funding from the IYIP or DHS, your agency does not use that money to subsidize or to pay for the youth to be in that space where that employer is?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah.
All of our employers pay the full wage. We don't subsidize any of the wages.
Okay. Yep. That would be good.
Dee, I have a question. This is Fannie Leah from Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago. Is it possible, because that has always been a concern of ours with the I-9 form, especially that second page. Is it possible to put it on Illinois WorkNet where they can complete the page 1 under their profile, and we can have it on the document on their profile with Illinois WorkNet? As
part of the form, or
yeah.
just as a link?
No, because the link only gives you a PDF and it's not fillable. So is it possible that we can actually have them to fill out the first page of the I-9 form on Illinois WorkNet? The second page is for the employer. We do subsidize, so our payroll, our HR actually has a link on, we use Paycom, and they're able to do the entire I-9 form, and we verify it online through our Paycom system. But for those who go to another employer, they usually just fill out the complete I-9 form with the employer. The employer doesn't even request us, or when we offer, they don't even need it. They say, we'll have them all filled out. So some of the youth are doing it twice.
Yeah, okay, I see. Brandon and the team and I will have to talk about that to see, because that is in a specific format, and I'm not sure that we can replicate that format and at what cost it would be programmatically to do that, but I'll check into it and see if we can get that accomplished.
Also, form requires a signature. So that might be another hiccup with having it on workNet.
In some way, you can do digital signatures on some of those things. So that's a possibility. All right, so Camilla, I've got the eligibility page up here on the application, and I'm not seeing anywhere on here where it's asking for an I-9.
Well, it might not be on the website, but like Brandon said, it's all through the literature, the NOFO, and how you set up it specifically addresses that. It's a section that says record keeping for data collection and record keeping, and that you have to keep a permanent file for the youth. A part of the documentation that goes in, I believe, section 1, eligibility of the permanent file, is the I-9, picture ID, either government issued or school. Social Security card signed.
That's correct.
So that's paper documentation that you need. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking we were missing something on the application. So,
but once it comes, the way it ties into the application is that once you come back to verify them for enrollment, you're using that I-9 and those Social Security and that picture ID documentation in order to verify their enrollment.
Right.
And the selective service if it's a boy.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something that was on here, but I see what you're saying now.
Right, because when it comes to the in-person part, after they finish this online application, those are some of the hiccups that you might run into, because you have to try to get that documentation for that permanent hard copy for the file in order for them to progress to the next level in the program.
Sure. I get it. Okay. All right. So let me investigate. Let me talk to the team and see how much time it would take to do that, and then what's going on with that. All right. Okay. What else do we need to talk about?
Oh, I got a question. You don't love us anymore?
I do love you, but did I not get you added to the list again?
Yes, ma'am. I'm beginning to feel like a stepchild.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I will do it. As soon as we're done today, I will do
it. Okay. And the other thing about the self-evaluations that the students are supposed to complete, how are we counting, without us going in and looking at each record? Is there some way that we're going to see that number at the end? Is it going to be on a dashboard, or
of how many? Let me add that because we do have that services report. Let me see if I can get the add self-evaluation to that services.
Okay. And I've been trying to find the email. We've changed some people from out of CSYEP to YEP, and I can't find the people anymore.
You need to, when you're looking for them on here, if you move them, you need to now look for what category you enrolled them in.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So it's more than likely going to be either 2 or 3 on here if you transferred them.
Okay. Okay. That's what I got.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have questions? Sabrina, did you have your hand raised from when we were going to be in for the weekend or for the week between Christmas? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else have any questions that I can answer for you? All right, so we'll just do a regular Q&A session on the 29th. So come armed with your questions if you have them. I've got 71 people of 75 that have checked in for attendance. So if you haven't done that, you need to check something on each page, not an organization. It's either an organization name or not one of these before you can actually hit submit. And I know Angel of God is not in there, so that's probably 1 or 2 of my people. I am gonna fix this, Mary. I'm gonna fix it as soon as we're done here. All right. All right, anything else today, ladies and gentlemen? All right, so I wish all of you a Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. We'll see each other during Kwanzaa, and then I can wish you a Happy New Year. So but if you're not going to be here on the 29th, Happy New Year, and I hope everybody has a blessed, safe, and much healthier New Year than we've had in 2020. All right, bye everybody.